to our first training. We're high tech now, so we're doing training online. Isn't that awesome?
That's really nice.
Yes, we are 2019 girlfriend. We don't do face-to-face no more. No, we do not. We're too busy for that. So I hope everybody have their agenda. I know I sent a huge, long thing. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the feedback from the preview service. So all of you, I believe, except for Ashley, served in the preview service. And basically anything you want to mention, any celebrations, any tension, any suggestions, let us know. Anything you can think of?
I'm a little curious about that infant room and if we have more kids that would come, what that would look like, just because it is such a little space.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. So we'll see how things go. For now, the conversation is to have the hallway available during service. So as soon as service starts, and the kiddos go back into the classroom, we can put up walls in that hallway so they can actually come out to the hallway.
That'd be nice too.
So that's definitely what we decided to do. So we're going to continue doing that from here on out, just so they can have space and walk around instead of being in that room. So that's the plan for now till, we grow out of capacity then.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything that went well that we should keep on doing? Yay? No? Nothing?
I think it's good. I think the one thing, the TV cart is really, really hard to push.
Yeah. Yeah, Boss Man is going to be on that.
Okay. So that's really tricky. So if we have to share videos or something, whatever. I mean, and we can make it work. That was just an observation.
Yeah. Yeah, Boss Man is on that one. He got that one.
Yep.
Can you hear us now?
Yay!
Welcome.
We couldn't figure out our computer, but we called you. So
okay. Well,
I don't know exactly what's happening right now, but hi.
You did it.
Two devices.
You did
Two
it.
devices connected.
Yeah. I feel like in the 3, 4, and 5s room, the preview services have gone really well. There was, I think the second week we had more kids than usual, and we were like, is this space going to totally fill up? But actually, yeah, it has been totally fine so far. And it's so great. Some things that have been going well are that the foam things that go on the floor, I don't know what those are called. Those are really awesome, and the blocks have been really awesome.
Okay.
The videos for the 3s, 4s, and 5s is this owl video. I don't know exactly what it's called. We use that in Mill City too, and they've become pretty familiar with that rhythm. And then the other thing that I've loved that's going really great is there's a prayer journal in the 3s to 5s room. And Chad and I started trying that at Mill City and have kept going with it here. And it doesn't always work. Like sometimes it totally flops.
Right.
And someone says they want to pray for cereal or whatever, but that's been really awesome just to have it be a consistent thing. And then even when it's not doesn't feel super meaningful, it's kind of like just our rhythms in our adult lives too of connecting with God, where it doesn't always feel like something, but just giving the chance for God to show up and just practicing. So I've really loved taking time to do that. And then things that I think we could maybe wonder how we could make even better would be with this curriculum. Sometimes I've felt like it's super fun because we just come up with random games to play or stuff to do to entertain ourselves, but sometimes the curriculum feels a little lacking in like activities, or like new things to do each week, besides like coloring and whatever. I know that there are definitely activities in the curriculum, but sometimes there's not. And like, that is not a huge deal. I don't feel like that's a priority, really. That's like way,
10 to 15 minutes of the time.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like a priority. But as we're thinking, like, what can be even better? That's one thing that comes to my mind.
Okay.
I think that's what I got for feedback so far. Did you have anything else?
That was pretty thorough.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome.
We love it. It's so fun. Yeah.
You guys are awesome, though. Actually, you guys really hold down the floor. I remember your mom coming last Sunday. She's like, "Oh, I want to see how energy." I was like, "Please, they are holding it down. You don't have to worry." Yeah. So you guys did an amazing job in that room. Yeah, because I remember the Sunday where we had so many of them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But you guys were fine. It was awesome. Actually, we had Kate, I believe, that Sunday too. So it was the three of you. I don't know if you remember, because it was you, Kate, originally. Then Chad, came in.
I came in for a couple minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. So it's awesome. And Miss Renee, of course, kicked butt last Sunday because she was the only one holding down the floor in the K-5 grade classroom. She was just doing her thing.
But it was all our own kids, and they could have their own Sunday school class. I just had to get them to stop wanting to play volleyball with the box things that we were making. So it was great. It was great. I was going to say, I really, really appreciated Adobe that there was a box of Bibles for them, because I think in the past, like, having the Bibles in the bigger kids' classrooms have been something that has been a positive. Like, they had the Lego Bible at Mill City, and they had the Action Bible, and help me out, Nicole, what else do they have? They had a few different Bibles, didn't they, for the bigger kids? And so last week I just started to think, oh, we should ask for some Bibles, because there was just one Jesus Storybook Bible in there. And last week I show up and there's a box of Bibles.
Right.
For the
kids. So
excited.
Yes.
Yes, and so they loved it. So we practiced opening up the Bible and going to the contents and finding the book of the Bible, and then the verse, the chapter, and then the verse. And so a lot of them really enjoyed learning how to do that. So I think that's a huge praise. And I think one of the things that I had one time Brigida come and help just for a quick lesson. One of her suggestions was she was thinking we should have snacks for the kids. Even though there's the coffee welcome center out, for the grown-ups, she's like, kids always enjoy it more when there's food. So I've been thinking, yeah, that's true. We should have little grapes or muffins or something for the kids when they come to stay busy. But I don't know about the 2, 3s, and 5s or whatever. How that would go.
We had goldfish one week as part of an activity. That was a big.
That was a highlight. Noelle loved that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your feedback. That is so helpful. So I'm gonna pass it on to our boss man. Let us know the vision of this team.
I don't know how I feel about the title of boss man. I'll try to embrace it.
Maybe mob boss instead.
Mob boss, right?
Mob boss. Mob boss is kids.
Your dad boss is that thing.
I can see that storyline. Pastor's kid in northern Wisconsin, church planner, mob boss.
Mob boss.
Oh boy. Well, this is just really exciting to be together with you all in this way. This is the first time ever that this big of gathering of family life team has been together, and we just wanted to create a moment here to do a couple things, get the chance to kind of zoom out a little bit and get a broader perspective of what we're all doing here. You all have come to this church and come to family life with such passion for it, because it's something that was a part of your faith already, this love and care for kids and the next generation. And so we've got so much momentum. Like whenever someone asks, I love it when people who are asking about the church ask what we have for kids, because I feel like we're just miles ahead of what's expected for church plants at this point. And part of that is just huge credit to Sharon and the Mill City team that really trained a lot of you guys up. And we're carrying on a vision that we have the seeds of there. But I feel like we're reaching this point now where we're starting to ask questions. What does this mean for us? And how do we make it our own? And Adobe is just a rock star in coordinating you guys on Sunday morning. She didn't know I was going to say this, but I'm extremely proud of her. I'm extremely pleased with how she brings such energy to the Sunday morning. So, I'm really stoked about family life. I'm like gab everybody's ear off about it that I get the chance to when I talk about North City, and they're like, do you guys have anything other than family life going on in your church? Is it just all kids there? But I'm really stoked about it. Maybe part of it is I'm a parent who gets to see you all love my children, which is really special to me. But I care about all the kids in our church, and I'm a futuristic on the strengths finders. So when I see them, I see years out ahead too. And I'm just elated that that we get to participate in their formation. We get to participate in them coming to know what the church is and who Jesus is and who God is in their life. So Adobe asked me to come and just share what's in my head. Often Adobe and the other staff are like, can you just like give me 2 minutes of what's in your head, JD? Which is really good because I'm not always good at pausing and saying, oh, this is what I'm discerning that our community is naming as the dream that God has for this church. So let me just do that for a few minutes in terms of family life. And then we'll take a turn in this call and go a little more practical, just to go over some really logistical things. So I've told many of you, and you know that we had been working with Miriam Knight. Some of you may remember her if you were a part of Mill City several years ago. She's a really dear friend of Christian Ann and I, and has really thought a lot about family life ministry, is acquainted with our mission and what we're trying to focus on as a church. So early on in that conversation, she was trying to help Christian Ann and I, and what we had heard from you all. She was trying to kind of bring out what some of our priorities were as a church, or what they could be. And she just asked a simple question: what is it like for you to love your kids in your home? And I can't remember if it was Christian Ann or myself, but one of us blurted out, sometimes it's like living with aliens. And we just had a good laugh because we were just having a frank conversation about how bizarre it is sometimes, how strange it is sometimes. And we're a church that's focused on the table. So just take the table example. And if you've ever eaten with children, it's always a strange experience. It's never the same all at once. And so we were just noting the fact that, yeah, it's goofy, but part of that comment is like, it's fun and interesting, and it keeps you on your toes, but it's also rife with complication, frustration sometimes. And she's like, oh, that's really interesting that you said aliens. I think maybe you were thinking outer space, but it reminds me of this biblical concept of the alien or the stranger or the foreigner. And actually, our whole mission could be, in some sense, encapsulated by the term hospitality, which I'm sure you've heard me say before, or maybe have heard it said. The biblical definition of hospitality is a love of the stranger. So that's a moment that really clicked for me in articulating the vision of family life at North City, because we want to have a posture of hospitality towards our kids. And it might be strange to say we want to love our kids who are strangers, but that's actually an amazing posture to have towards children, because if we have that posture of hospitality, of opening one's heart and self to someone who's different than us, some little person who's different, who has a different experience, we're actually modeling the love that Jesus invites us to love our neighbors with. So if the mission of North City Church is to love our neighbors in the way of Jesus, and one of our values is that kids are not just the future of the church, but they're the church now, then what we're called to do as a church is to equip our little people to love their neighbors in the way of Jesus. So what better way to do that than to have the posture of hospitality towards those kids? So you might be like, oh, great concept, good anchored concept for our ministry to start on, but what does that begin to look like practically? And what I think it begins to look like, and I've been thinking about this in terms of the welcome team as well, preparing for Sunday morning like you were emotionally and maybe even physically preparing for a neighbor to come hang out with you, right? Usually there's this scurry of activity, getting things ready, but when the neighbors come in, you have a posture of wonder towards them. You have a posture of curiosity towards them. You're very careful to call them by name. You start asking questions, maybe small talk that leads to, in its authenticity, leads to wanting to understand and be open to their story. So what this means, I think, for family life on Sunday morning, if we have a culture, if someone were to ask us, what is the experience like on Sunday morning for my kids, someone who's interested in coming, I would want that experience to be covered by hospitality. I would want them, if they came to experience you as team members, getting down, even physically, on the level of our children and looking them in the eye and having a sense of wonder, loving them as a stranger and asking questions, calling them by name, seeing who they are. And even on maybe when, like I said, with that comment originally sprang from, is that there's often tensions, and sometimes around the dinner table, I'm like, who are you and what have you done with my child? When food goes flying or there's a tantrum or something like that, we also need to have the posture of hospitality, the love towards the stranger. And that posture is a posture of wonder instead of a posture of reaction, wondering and asking questions where that behavior might be springing from, telling or asking, maybe there's something in their day that they're coming with or something like that. So that's all a posture of hospitality. So I think that's what I want to anchor in North City's vision and family life for. We want to show our children hospitality because that's who we believe God is, and that's who we're called to be. In addition to that, this springs from the curriculum we choose to use, which is called Orange. And if you're not familiar with Orange, the reason it's called Orange is because it's this visual representation of yellow and red, and yellow being the church and red being the household. And oftentimes churches in the past have functioned like programs you bring your kids to so that they know Jesus. Then you go home and there's really no connection. Orange is trying to bring red and yellow together to make orange, and that is a partnership between the household and the church. That's one way of talking about it. Another way that I've talked about it is that we believe that parents are the primary spiritual influencers of their children. So not only are we trying to create a compelling and equipping environment for their children on Sunday morning, we're trying to partner with them in the spiritual formation, realizing that they're the primary influencers of their kids. So we're equipping them by providing an engaging program on Sunday morning. But beyond that, like things like the Parent Q app that we've talked about, and coming alongside and encouraging them. So not only can we have a posture of hospitality towards the kids that come in, but knowing the kids' names and knowing the parents' names just exudes this vision of partnership that communicates indirectly that we're in it with them. We're here for them. It isn't just like a soccer practice, drop kids off on and then check up on a few emails. And then hopefully they, after 2 years, they, kick the ball around like Lionel Messi or something like that. This is a collaboration, a partnership. I want to share a great example, and I'm going to call a few people on this call out because I noticed it in them. But Anna and Chad, there was this moment where I was kind of hovering around a few weeks ago after a previous service, and you guys have Hannah Bubna in your class, and Renee was finishing up with her class and came by, and we were all sort of chatting, and Anna just told Renee, she's like, "Hey, Renee, I have to tell you about something that Hannah did in class today. We were doing this, I believe it was a prayer journal, like Anna was talking about earlier. We were doing this prayer journal, and Hannah just went off script and prayed this most beautiful prayer. And I was watching Renee in that moment, and Renee's eyes lit up because I think Renee had shared, maybe she can correct me if I'm wrong, but she had shared that they had been doing that around mealtime, or Hannah had been praying more. And so it was just a perfect example of what we're going for. It was a parent who cares about the spiritual formation of their kid. It was really loving team members who are noticing something amazing about one of our kids that God has put in that kid's life, the ability to converse freely with God and lead that classroom in that way. And it was like orange happening right there in front of us. It was the home, it was the team member, and they were on the same page, and they were celebrating the uniqueness of how God had created that child. And that child was in a space that they felt so comfortable that they could do something as intimate as pray like that, which means that they had to feel as comfortable as they might feel at home. And that's all the things we're talking about. They know her name. They, embrace the craziness of what is the 2 through 5s room, and stuff like that happens. And then they're able to relay that to parents in this indirect and direct communication that Renee and Daniel are her spiritual family, or her family, and the primary influencers of her faith. Does that make sense? And I'm just going to pause. And do you guys have any reflections, or do you want to celebrate any of that vision, ask any questions or clarifications about it, or maybe even share another example of how you see that already happening in family life and with our kiddos? Awesome. You guys are all reflective listeners. Yes. So a couple key pieces of review and highlights. So kids are not the future of the church. They're the church now. Our keystone value for family life at North City, that is an extension of our vision of the table, is hospitality, love of the stranger. That means that we care about knowing kids' names. We care about asking questions about their week. We are concerned with their story, and we do our best to know their story. In addition to that, family life at North City is about a partnership with the primary influencers of those kids, and that's their guardians. And so as team members, we're conscious not only of the kids, but the parents, and are eager to collaborate with them and celebrate milestones or stories that happen in our space with their faith. Cool. Well, if you guys don't have any questions or stories to add to that, I'll toss it back over to Adobe, and then we'll get practical.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, JD.
Yeah.
So he did the vision, and of course the commitment, team members' commitment to the children. I also send you guys a document that says 4 faith skills for families. This is something, this is also, I think it also can apply to us as team members, but also as parents. Hear, pray, talk, live. How to hear from God, how to pray to God, how to talk to other people about your faith, and how to live it out outside the church walls. So I don't know if you've read it yet, but whenever you have the time, it's really nice, simple. Next thing I want to talk about is my commitment to y'all. as the team members. So my commitment is this sister is going to be on time. Okay, I'm going to be on time. I'm not going to be late by the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ. Make sure that each room is set up. Everybody have their bins. Everybody have their curriculum. Everybody have the materials, their walkie-talkies. Make sure the battery works, that is on, and it's on channel 2 because that's the channel we are on. Need anything for whatever reason, just holler at me at the walkie-talkie. What else? Ways to contact me. I don't know if you have my number yet. If not, I would email that to y'all, but text is like the quickest way since we're right there in the building than email. Just text me and say, hey, and I always have it on me on vibrate. So, just be easy. Cause I don't want too much vibration, my but normally just the walkie-talkie. And also, I know for Mill City, if you're seeing something a little bit crazy, the number is 7777, I think 4 sevens. For us, it will be 119, which is the reverse of 911. So if I hear 119, I know sums up.
Yeah, let's just dial down on that just for a second, Adobe. So if particularly because of the space we're in, and maybe we'll get this in the safety procedures, but if someone strolls in and starts to approach your room or something, find Adobe or raise her on the walkie-talkie. And if it doesn't seem safe to describe the situation as scary because that person's in earshot or something like that, or there's a situation, you can use that code. And again, it's 119.
Yeah.
119. Right. And then what will happen is that Adobe will go and find another staff member who can help in assisting with that situation. So just wanted to add clarity there.
Yep. So now the rules of the classroom. Now I did not send this to you guys because I found this, last minute. I was like, okay, I will send it to y'all later. But basically the same thing as Mill City. Love others and love the space. It's just, same thing. Nice and simple. Whatever the child is doing, ask them, are you loving your neighbor by doing such and such? Are you loving the space by doing such and such? So these are basically 2 simple rules, and everything else basically fall into that. Also, a child has the right not to do any of the activity. So maybe they're just having a bad day, or maybe that's their first Sunday there, and they're a little shy, a little timid, and they don't feel like doing the activity. I love last Sunday with Moses. He was a little bit shy, and Chad was like, well, we have a bunch of toys in here. You might not like, he didn't like anything that was out on the floor. So I was like, come on in, we have more. And he's like, oh, okay. And man, by 5 minutes, that boy was good to go. So it was awesome. But they do have a right not to, participate. And the option then you have for them is just to sit and then watch. But they are not allowed to then distract the other children that are trying to do the activity. But they can sit and watch quietly, and just watch what the other children are doing. Now, I have not seen this happen, not in Mill City, or not even, because I've done children's ministry for a while, I've not seen it gone this badly, but so much so that you have to call a parent to come get the kiddo. I've not seen that happen. And I spoke to Sharon, and she said it has happened 3 times in 11 years she's been doing this. So this does not happen often. But talking to Sharon, and I also agree with this, is we want the parents to feel that it is okay for their child to be at church. We don't want the parents feeling judged or feel like they're not doing a good job with their child. So our job and our prayer is, no matter what's going on, to do the best we can to handle that situation. Because I want the parents to feel as though that their child is welcome just the way they are.
Amen.
They don't have to behave a certain type of way. They don't have to be always quiet. Even if your child is loud, that's okay. He or she will be loud for Jesus. Come on, we're gonna make this work. So that's the goal. That come as you are. Bring your kiddos. Rough edges and all, that's all right. Bring them. And by the grace of God, we'll find a way to incorporate them into the service. But so far, so good. The kiddos, even though they might be apprehensive at first, but after a while, though, they relax and they join in. And I've seen that, and it's been amazing. So I've not seen it where we had to call a parent, thank God. But our job is to make sure we do the best we can in the space, to make sure that the kiddo, feels welcome and at home. And like JD said, hospitality. Make sure they're known, make sure they're loved, and make sure they're heard. And I think that's very important for any human being, really, especially for a child, because you don't want them to feel like, oh, you're little, that you're insignificant. No. You're a human being. You have a voice. You have a personality. We hear you. We see you. So that is our goal. So that's for the rules in the classroom. Now, for safety procedures, of course, you guys have a form on this one, but I'm just going to touch on little things here. And of course, JD, you can chime in if I forget anything. But for that, name tags. So sometimes the machine works, sometimes it doesn't, but I always have, the sticky tags if it doesn't. But we want to make sure that we have that sticked onto the clipboard. And also there's also space to write their names out. And I'd rather you guys do that as well, just in case of emergency and we have to evacuate. If we have emergency personnel come in, that we have the clipboard saying, yep, all, these are the children in our classroom and they were out. So even though you get the stickers and you also write their name out, because there's space for that, so that we know for sure how many kiddos we have in that room. So God forbid if something happens, we have something on hand to say, yep, this is how many children in here, everybody's accounted for, we can see all their names. Let me see what else. Classroom doors. So the infant and walkers and K through 5th graders have doors. We are going to close those. Now, JD and I had a conversation, and for the 2 to 5-year-old rooms, since you guys don't have a door, the hallway, I'm going to have to put walls to block that hallway so that people don't get easy access just to walk down that hallway to get into that space. So that's what we're going to do. So from the K through 5th graders room, after that door, I'm going to put a wall right there just to block it. And so that it's not an easy access. So we can easily see if somebody's trying to move the walls to go past or whatever. So we need to do that. So that would be the safety measure for that room since it has no door. And the other door that's leading outside, we already have a big, heavy chair that really goes across that doorway. So for someone to come through there, they have to be really strong. So that's already covered. But we're going to put walls. And also, I'm going to work on each of us having a name badge. So not only just a badge to say your family life, but also have your name on it, so that when parents come, they can also know your name. Because, if you're like me, you say a name, it goes here and goes over there. I don't know. I'm good with faces, but name shout, as soon as you tell me, it's leaving my mind. Till I see it times, and then it sticks. But I want to have names. So for me, what I've been doing is, writing my name on those sticky thing and put it on the back of it, so that when people see me, me and my loud self, they're like, oh my God, what's your name? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, no name. So I had to write my name down so they can see my name, especially to know how to pronounce it. So I'm actually going to make name badges with our names on it, because that's another way of also parents getting to know you and know your names and get to hear what you have to say about their little kiddos. So that would be the next thing I'll be doing. Anything else you need to add, JD? Or am I missing something? Let me see.
One key thing is, in the event of an emergency, say a fire or any reason in which we'd have to evacuate the building, just put in your mind, it's very important for you to grab the clipboard that has all the children's name in it. And we will, because we're new to the space, and we've got a lot going on, we'll think through exit strategy for you, but it basically would be taking the children and getting them as far away from the building using the closest exit to you with the clipboard. In the event of emergency, I know the rational thing for parents to do will come and grab their children from your classroom, but it's really important that you start with all of your kids and keep as many of them together with you to exit the building as possible. And we will, in the event of emergency, instruct parents in the auditorium to go outside and that you will be taking them out. Now, I know as a parent, that seems like hard communication, but for the organization as a whole to have the safest procedure in the event of emergency, it makes the most sense for the class to stay together so we have a log of who is in the class, and then for parents to pick up outside. So that will be our standard for now until we tell you something different. I believe that was what Mill City chose to do as well. And this might change based on spaces if we end up in a different space or if our team decides there's a better procedure for it. But in the event of emergency, be sure you grab the clipboard because that'll be really important for making sure.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Wondering with the park outside and just the possibility of there being, knee scrapes or I don't know, scratches. Do we have a first aid kit yet?
Yes, we do.
Okay. That's good to know. Where is that kept then?
Oh, I'll have to show you, but it's literally kept in the cars that's really next to the infant and walkers classroom. I'll have to show it to you too, but it's literally right there.
Okay.
It is not out, and yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Is that Adobe? Is that the changing? The one with the
no, is the one with the actually yes, it's the changing one.
Yeah, so if you've noticed, there's a cart that turns into a changing station. That's the cart. That you
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's the only thing that I would say is, even though we tried to not call parents, if kids are just acting like kids or whatever, I would say there was a time at Mill City when Hannah actually was probably 2.5, she fell down in the gym and she got a major bruise on her head that was a goose egg, and they never called me. And I feel like if a kid gets more than a scratch or if they're bumping their head, I feel like that is an appropriate time to call a mom or dad. So just that's my 2 cents in there. But it's a little unrelated to us not wanting to call parents, but I feel like there should be kind of a clause that if a kid is hurt, I think it's important to let the mom and the dad know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I really like that approach. I think with injuries like that, the sooner the parents can be informed, the better. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Hey, while we're here, any other pieces of feedback or questions?
Are there other pieces of the security that we're going to talk about? Or is that, I just am curious about, at Mill City, we always had the rule of 3s for going to the restroom.
Yeah, that
and
is
then with changing with the infants, I just was curious to know what the philosophy is.
Adobe, you want to cover this?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same for us. I actually have a sheet that has the frequent asked questions, and I was gonna actually bring that up as Renee was talking. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So diaper change, we don't do that. Contact me. I'll go get the parent. For going to the bathroom, like you said, 3. Yeah, you let the other team member know. You take it to the bath and have them going 3s, not by themselves. And wait at the door, and when they're all done, can walk back to the room. So it's the same thing for us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
The only exception to the diaper changing rule is my kid.
Well, yeah.
Because one of us is preaching. So I don't know I guess because we make the rules, we get to break them, but normally our whoever is being the caretaker for Daniel can do that. If you're in the room. So yeah.
True.
Any other questions or comments or suggestions? Great. Adobe, do you have anything else to add? I don't know where we're at in our agenda.
Oh, we're done, man.
Man, you killed it.
Listen,
That.
that's how I roll. You hear me? I'm professional.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, we doing real good. So yeah, that's it. That's it. You just gotta close us out in prayer, bless us. Go.
I have two more things to say. Of course, every pastor has like two.
Of course, you know, try to make it look bad, but all right, we give you some time.
The first one's just a question. So, in the sort of vision we talked about and practicality we talked about, can you all think of any practical steps you could take on a Sunday morning, and this is just open brainstorm, to capture that posture of loving the stranger and hospitality in your classroom? So just take a moment and think, do you have any example or any ideas about how we could do that better, or practices we could try to keep living into that identity and vision? I'll offer one up, and you guys can keep noodling, keep thinking. One thing that came to mind as we were talking tonight, just in partnership with parents and in the spirit of working together, if there's things you guys notice in your classrooms, maybe even a habit would be, try to, when you're concluding your time after the kiddos leave, just text Adobe like a brief story of something that went well in your classroom, or a celebration of a student, because we would love to pass those along to parents. Mm-hmm. Like I think it can be a bit of a miss if there's a breakthrough in the classroom that doesn't translate into informing the parent. So if even a small thing like Cast shared a toy with Daniel, and that was really good. Like, I think we want to be in a habit of celebrating our kids. So that just came to mind as something that would be, if you guys remember, text Adobe, just a short little text on your way home, or maybe it's the first thing you do when you're done with your time of serving.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think maybe as that your comment sparked something on with the bigger kids, I feel like they're coming up with some really good questions, and there's not always enough time to really dive into where you could go with that, more than just maybe give one answer from one perspective. And so maybe people who are in the K through 5th grade could maybe in the prayer journal write down the really good questions, the questions of faith that they've had, and
that's great.
That people could come back around to that and talk about it from their perspectives too, perhaps.
Yeah, that's great.
I really good idea. Yeah.
Great. Well, my second thing, does anybody have, I don't want to cut anybody off if they had a idea brewing that they want to share. This is obviously not the end of the time that you can share. You know where to find us.
So. I think maybe with infants, like, I find that it's easiest if you can like find a way to distract them right away so they don't get sad that their parents are leaving, I guess, which maybe feels a little cruel in a way, but it seems to work the best. So I was just thinking like maybe there's a way that like you can like try to get to know what their favorite toy is or what their favorite thing to do in the room is, and kind of distract them with that, but in a loving way.
Yeah, that's good.
Good idea.
With the 3 to 5, or maybe it's 2 to 5. I actually don't know.
It's 2 to 5.
Something that I've noticed that I feel like kids feel really welcomed by a lot of times, and this is like so simple, maybe it's silly, but I think that it makes a difference, especially for new kids, is a lot of times they love when we write their names on their coloring papers.
Oh, yeah.
Or like when we do the prayer journal, I like write everyone's names down, and then like when I write their name and I say their name, then they get the chance to share whatever we're talking about. And I think that feels really welcoming for everyone, and then especially for kids who are new or who don't know a lot of the other kids. There's like something powerful, and I think they can even identify when I'm taking the time to write their name down, or like saying it with them, or like something that feels like they're a part of what we're doing, because like we know their names and we're like making sure that they know that we know.
Yeah.
It's a really little thing, but I think they really like that sometimes. Yeah.
And I think also, Anna and I are usually sitting when, I mean, a couple of kids will come in, and then more will kind of trickle in as the service starts and stuff. And usually we're sitting down. And now we've talked about that, but it really does make a difference when like we're in the space and a kid comes into the space and sees like everyone's kind of on the same level, and they don't feel like they're sitting on the outside of like our little entrance, and they like with us sitting down, creating like a space that's like welcoming, and it makes it easy to like invite them into the room by like being eye to eye.
Yeah, being aware of environment too, and how much that shapes the hospitality piece.
That's great. Awesome. Cool. Those are awesome suggestions. I was taking some notes, and we'll try to, as best we can, try some of those practices and incorporate them. You guys are all rock stars. I'm sitting here listening to you, getting so proud, and he's giving me more stuff to brag about when people ask about family life. The other thing I wanted to say about family life is, just like this church, this is an experiment, and that seems weird to say when there's children involved, but we want to have the posture of wonder. We want to have the posture of listening to God, just like we're listening to him to try to figure out how best to love our neighbors. We want to have the posture of listening and trying new things, because we want to love our kids in that way. And you're a part of that. You're a part of this experiment. You're a part of listening and giving feedback and offering suggestions. And I want you, and I know you already have this, so I feel like I'm just naming this as much as asking for it, but you can have a high level of ownership in this ministry, and see it as your own, that you're on a team that's trying to do this together and trying to figure out new and better ways of equipping kids to, in the hope that they will choose to follow Jesus one day. And we get to model that for them every Sunday and every other moment that we get to be in their life. So thank you for being on this team. Thank you for being on this call. We're all just really proud of what we get to do and what God has called us into. So let me pray and just offer a blessing for you. So as we do at North City, if you want to open your hands, if you feel comfortable, and receive the blessing, that'd be great. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, thank you for this church. Thank you for leading and guiding us to this point. May you give this team endurance. May you give this team peace when they come on Sunday mornings. May you give them the courage to stay in a posture of curiosity towards our children. May you give them open hearts so that they can love them deeply, know their names and their stories. God, you said, "Let the children come to me." And you had a posture of hospitality towards the children that were around you when you walked this earth, Jesus. Would you give us the same spirit? Would you help us to truly believe that the kingdom is theirs, and we have so much to learn from them, and they have so much to teach us? even though this team may feel that they're the teachers in the moment, may you give them the vision that they are being taught, that there is much to learn. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you so much, guys. Y'all awesome. Y'all make me look good. I am so happy for this. Blessings to you. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Ella.
Night. Oh.